Hello and welcome. In today's exciting episode, I make a kimono-style jacket. It's sort of based on an existing pattern. It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket. So I was going to make a Chanel-style vintage jacket out of this 1960s tweed, which the camera hates. Here's a better shot of it. So I cut out the bits, but then I had a couple of hours, and this is the dress I was going to make at the end of the month, and I was hoping to get this video made early so I'd have a bit more time. Anyway, I made this dress up, and yeah, it's lined, so there's actually 2 layers of cotton at the top. So it's good for transition, like cooler months, but as a summer dress, not really, because it's 2 layers of cotton long sleeve basically. But I did like the silhouette, and I thought, actually, it would make a good jacket, because I've seen, if you're on Pinterest, you've probably seen all those dolman sleeves or dolman sleeve jackets or kimono jackets that on Instagram too. A lot of people just sort of buy old quilts and cut them out and then just make them into these jackets with bias. So I put aside my tweed that I was going to make the Chanel style jacket out of, and I got out this denim weight cotton, and so this is the top of that Vogue dress, the kimono style dress. And I'd made it without a deep V-neck in the front. I made it just a round neck, so like a collarless Chanel jacket sort of thing. In retrospect, I think I should have just done the rounds at the front and made a straight for the back. The neckline at the back should have just been straight, but I'll point that out later. So I made the sleeves a little bit longer, and the rest is pretty much the same. And so what I did was I folded the material in half, so that I was cutting out the front and the back at the same time. And then I folded it in quarters, or half again, so that I was cutting out the left and the right side at the same time. And then I sort of just cut down the middle of the front and left the back as one whole bit. So the jacket is one whole piece of fabric. And then after I did that, then I sort of folded it back in half again, or in quarters. And then I cut out a lining, and the grey netting is the structural layer. So then I had 3 layers. So what I did was I sewed the structural layer to my outer fabric. And you can see that here. I just sort of went around the edges. And I also sewed up the sides and the underarm. It's a pretty simple design. If you don't have this particular Vogue pattern or any kimono style top or anything, then there's some on Pinterest, or you could just sort of make your own one. Anyway, so after I machine sewed it, then I stitched down the seam allowance under the arms and down the sides. And once that was done, you can sort of see it at the front, but mostly it was just the inner layers. And I intend to do some beading over the top of this, so it doesn't have to be that, yeah. So once I'd done that, the next thing was to pin the outer layer and the lining together. So I pinned them together, right sides together, and then I machine sewed them together along the front of the jacket, right around the neckline, and then down the front again, and then turned it out. And before I turned it out, I just clipped the curve and cut the corners. Then I turned it out, and then I pinned all the edges together. And I also did the same. I turned up the hem of the cuffs and the hem of the jacket, and then I hand stitched them all down, and I top stitched around the front with white thread, top stitched around the back with the bright green, so that you can sort of see it, and then white again down the front. And I also put just little panels of the outer fabric in when I was sewing in the lining. I just put in a panel of that as well, because I don't like it when the lining is all just lining fabric. I think your jacket lasts better if there's a panel of the outer fabric just on the inside of the jacket. So I did that. And here we go. And yeah, so the last thing to do is just hand stitch the lining down at the bottom. But as I said, I'm going to bead this, so I've left it open, and I've just sort of pinned the lining in the cuffs as well. And here we are. I quite like it, but yeah, it's a little bit too big. But I mean, the kimono style jackets are supposed to be a little bit baggy. I love the sleeves though. Once they have the weight of the beads on them, they're going to sort of sit down a bit more. So they are a bit flared and flouncy at the moment. But once the weight of all the beading is on there, because I've got these most gorgeous metallic sort of emerald, really dark green beads, and I've also got some white ones, sort of brighter one. Yeah, I'm going to maintain the colours that you see now, but it's just going to be lots of seed beads and bugle beads, and yeah, it's going to look so pretty. But you can see what I mean about the back of the neck line dipping a little too low. I think if I'd, instead of done the half circle sort of thing, if I'd just gone straight across on the back, then I think that would look better. And in the kimono patterns that you see, they do have the back neckline being almost straight across. So yeah, I think that's what I would change about the next one. But apart from that, I really like the way it turned out. I think part of that is I just love this fabric, and I've been wanting to do the bugle beads and use the bugle beads and the mini and the micro seed beads and the seed beads up on this for the longest time, because green is my favorite color, and I just think this one, once it's beaded, will look so beautiful, and it will weight down those sleeves. They do look a little bit like they've got balloons hidden inside them at the moment, in a good way. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching. And if you're looking for a quick sort of sewing project, then I definitely recommend one of these kimono style jackets. It especially if you just sort of do one of those reversible ones with the bias tape, bias binding around the edges, so there's no, because for me the longest part of this was hand stitching the seams. But yeah, if you're just going to do it reversible one, then you just use one bit of fabric for the inside, one bit of fabric for the reverse side, and then instead of doing any seams really, all you do is put bias binding around the edges. I'm thinking about making one jacket, like a reversible kimono style jacket, out of patchwork, but I'm not sure. I certainly have enough scraps, so maybe, but just because I have scraps doesn't mean I have to use them to make a million things. I just made another patchwork dress. But yeah, anyway, love this jacket. Look forward to beading it. And thank you very much for watching. And yeah, I recommend you try making one of your own. It only took a few hours and well worth it. Oh, actually, now that I think of it, next month is April, which is supposed to be rainbow tweeds and rainbows. So maybe I'll do a reversible kimono style jacket, and I'll use like warm colours on one side and then the cooler colours on the other side, perhaps, or something to do with rainbows. I don't know. Bright colours on one side and then pastels on the other, perhaps. I don't know, something to think about. Anyway, I'm going to go and finally make a Chanel style tweed jacket.